Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to set up your AWS profile settings and config files so that you can easily switch between AWS accounts. The BoltOps reference architecture, most of the README is actually written in with this strategy in mind. With multiple accounts, you basically have the added benefit of additional isolation between, let's say, development and production environments. You do something in development, you know you're not affecting production and vice versa. There is this reference architecture does support multiple single accounts also, and I'll be covering those in other videos also. But in this video, we're going to focus on just setting up your .aws configuration files actually. To do that, we go down here, and there's a link here, set up AWS profile. You go down here, and there's some instructions here, basically starter instructions. There's also some links out to the AWS documentation themselves, and they have a lot of documentation that covers this too, but because there's so many different ways to configure this, you kind of have to read through a lot of it, so I figure I just kind of summarize everything and put it more concisely here, okay, for this specific setup. Okay, so the two files you need is .aws config and .credentials, and you can guess what they do. Config basically just configures how the AWS CLI behaves, also configures out actually how the SDKs that connect to the AWS API also behaves, and you can do things like you set the region here, the default region, all that. And then the second one is credentials. This actually has your secret, like your access key and your key in here, okay? And look at this structure. There's a profile main account here. And that profile main account, all these profiles are kind of the same. The more, I guess, interesting ones here, the credentials. There's a main account here, and here there's a AWS access key, and there's an AWS secret access key here too. So that's where the secret information is. And the dev, management, and prod account actually, PRD account, actually refers to the source account here, the main account up here. So you only have one IMA user in the kind of parent login account, at least the way this is structured. Your accounts might be set up a little bit differently. It might be such that all your IMA users are in your production account. So then that would be actually your main account with your key ID and access key down here. And then these guys will have in the source profile PRD. So it will source that way. So it just depends how it's all set up. This is just one structure, and this is kind of structure we're going to kind of go with, at least for this video tutorial. Okay, so let's go ahead and start this. I'm just going to grab these files, or the output there. And I'm on, I wiped out my .aws folder, so I actually had to create a new one. And then I'm going to open it up, and we'll start adding these files here. When you use the AWS CLI, like usually there's the AWS CLI configure command and all that. What it does is actually creates like the .aws folder in your home directory. Then it sets things up. It like parses the file and adds it. But with kind of a multiple account structure, like you still kind of have to massage it yourself. So I'm just going to go directly in there and massage it directly. Okay. So I'm going here now. I'm going to go new file, config. Okay, add that, and that's kind of done. Okay, so that's the first one. Okay. The second one is this guy right here. Okay, so I'm going to grab that. Okay, and go back to here and go create a file called credentials. Okay, so reload. Okay, credentials right there. Okay, now these credentials aren't working, so I need working credentials. I'm going to grab actually real working credentials right here. I'm going to rotate these credentials throughout this video, so there's no point in trying. But here it is. We're going to put the real credentials in there. And actually, we're going to put in some actually child account IDs also, okay? So I'm going to actually go update all this guy right here and update with actually account IDs that are actually going to work, okay? So now, how do we test this? That basically, we're done with the setup, okay? We test it by kind of exporting AWS profile into like whatever profile you kind of want. So dev here, and then you can run a command. So I'm going to run the AWS S3 command here. I'm going to just go AWS S3 there, list. Okay, so that's just showing a bucket in there. So I'm going to actually test all accounts real quickly by prepending the AWS profile to all the accounts. So that's the same dev one. Okay, that's not PRD now. Okay, that's another bucket. There just happens to be that bucket in that account. And then there's another bucket in that account. Okay, so there, we tested all of them. We can even test the main account also, okay? The main account actually has no bucket, so it's going to return empty. Okay, there's another way to test that I found useful is basically get caller identity. Let me paste that command in here. Okay, so we're going to do caller identity here, and that actually shows you the account ID, so we can confirm that we actually are in the right account here. Okay, that's I'm going to do it for MGT also management, and then PRD, which is production. Okay, so that confirms everything. Okay, so that basically is kind of done. We are good now with that. Now, there's another setting in the BoltOps reference architecture, config settings.yml, that actually configures Lono. the CloudFormation framework that the BoltOps reference architecture leverages in order to build basically infrastructure. Okay, so Lono has this concept in the settings file where you can set AWS Profile here, and what that does is it actually tightly bounds the value of AWS Profile to the Lono environment. And the point of this is so then that when you switch between, let's say, AWS accounts, it also automatically switches to the Lono environment. So that you don't have to basically remember to switch both and accidentally, let's say, provision development resources onto production or vice versa, right? You don't want to accidentally kind of switch that. So this concept basically tightly bounds it. There's more documentation about right here, but this concept tightly bounds AWS Profile to Lono and development environment, okay? Or that environment that's kind of underneath there, okay? And the exclamation is right here too, okay? So that I just want to explain that, and then I want to show you where that file is too. Here's the downloaded reference architecture. You open this up, is our kind of setup for you with these specific name profiles. You can change this. Let's say you have your your own company, like your company-dev or something, right? You could change it to whatever, but you have to make sure that it matches, right? Whatever's in your config and whatever's in your credential, okay? So you gotta make sure that those kind of all match, okay? But this is just like the starter project to kind of show you how that all works, okay? And once you kind of do that, then you're kind of set. And then if you're deploying like a blueprint to production, you just go Lono production, and then that's going to deploy it to the right account. You're just going to know the tools are wise enough to know how to switch between accounts. And then a lot of the BoltOps tools actually are aware of this setting and has this concept also. Okay, so I think let me just go back to reference architecture. That's how you switch back to different accounts very quickly and very easily. And that's how you set up your AWS profiles. So hopefully that video was helpful. Okay, cheers.